Hello everyone, my name is Brit and my favorite time of year is autumn. So in this video I'm going to be giving you 30 plus of my favorite autumn book recommendations, so you will know exactly what to read this autumn. I made a few different categories, so you can always just skip to whichever category you want to watch, but I'm going to start out with my first and most exciting category, which I'm very into at the moment, and those are the witchy books. I feel like this year it's a time to read many witchy, sometimes cozy and creepy witchy books, and I've got a whole list for you. So without further ado, let's get started. The first one is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This is a super cute, heartwarming book all about found family, libraries and magic. Next we've got In the Company of Witches. This is about a B&B where a murder has happened, so these witches need to figure out who and why they have been killed. Then we've got The Ex-Hex and the Kiss Curse. This is a duology, or maybe more books are coming, but you can read them in whichever order you want, and it's all about a town full of witches. In the first book it is about a curse. In the first book it is about cursing an ex-boyfriend, and in the second book it is about a curse that's happening when people are falling in love. Then we've got The Once and Future Witches. This takes place at the end of the 1800s, and it is all about witches who are fighting for their right to vote, and they think that magic can help with that. The next one is Garden Spells. This is all about a house with a magical apple tree in the backyard. This is also very much focused on family and family relationships. There are definitely some tougher topics in this book, but overall it's still quite witchy and magical. Next we've got Wayward. This follows 3 different generations of witches who are all connected in some way. This one was definitely amazing. Then we've also got Circe, which is a Greek retelling of the Greek mythological witch called Circe. And we've got Practical Magic. This one I haven't read yet, but I really want to. It is of course the book that the film Practical Magic is based on. I heard it's quite different from the film, or the film is quite different from the book, but I still want to read it one day because Practical Magic is one of my favorite autumnal films. Definitely many witchy recommendations. Let's go to the next category, which are kind of dark and spooky reads. Okay, the first one I also haven't read yet. However, I feel like this is going to be the perfect dark autumnal read, namely Perfume by Patrick Suskind. This is all about a man who is obsessed with scent, and he wants to murder people and kind of recreate their scent in a way, and that's all I want to know about it. Very dark and very twisted. The next one is Our Wives Under the Sea, and this is all about a submarine tragedy and how a person can change after something very tragic has happened. This was quite disturbing and it gave me the chills, but in a good way. This was really good. Next we've got A Certain Hunger. This was such an amazing read, very dark and twisted. This is about a food critic who is also a murderer and has a very interesting taste. Next up we've got Rouge, which is all about the kind of cult-like characteristics of the beauty industry. This felt like a fever dream. This was dark, very weird, very atmospheric, and I still don't really know what to think about this, but I feel like this is a good one to read on a dark and gloomy day. And lastly, we have got Penance. This is all about a group of girlfriends who murder one of the friends. And it's about years and years later, a journalist is trying to figure out what happened on that specific night. Very dark and twisted. Of course, I want to mention a few Dark Academia books. Even though you may have heard of some of them already, I still want to mention them because they are definitely the perfect autumn books. The first one, without a doubt, is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I started annotating this one when I was reading it. I then stopped, but come on, this book screams the perfect Dark Academia autumn book. The next one, also a very popular one, but worth the hype, If We Were Villains. This is all about a man who has just served 10 years in prison for a murder he may or may not have committed, and it takes the reader back in time to those days at the college where the murder has happened. Of course, The Picture of Dorian Gray, one of my favorite books. This is a very dark one about a man who is obsessed with his beauty, and he goes to extremes to preserve his beauty. And lastly, The Maidens. This is all about a professor at a university who is thought to be a murderer. However, he is still very much adored by students and staff, and especially by this group of girls called the Maidens. The next category is definitely one of my favorites for this year as well, namely cozy autumnal books. Books that just make you feel warm inside, that are quite magical and just scream coziness, and I've got a few for you. The first one is one that I'm currently reading and I'm already loving it. It is called The Wand Keepers, A Sky Full of Dragons, and this is the first book in a new middle grade series written by Tiffany McDaniel. This is released on the 24th of September, I believe, and this is a middle grade about a girl with blue freckles who has been brought up by a hat maker called Aunt Cauldron Eyes, and it is very magical and heartwarming and cozy, and I cannot wait to continue reading this one. Then we've got one that I finished yesterday called The Spell Shop, a very magical book about a girl who is opening a secret spell shop in her hometown, and this is very much about found family, second chances. Overall super cute and cozy with lots of magical elements. Another one with all the cozy vibes was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This one already just looks so cozy. It is about a woman called Emily Wilde who is writing an encyclopedia of fairies. It's about fairies, it's about love, it's about friendship, and it was just overall very, very cozy. Then we've got the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and the Cinnamon Bun Bookstall. Two cozy but also quite spicy autumnal romances that take place in this very small town, and it's all about finding a new life, creating a new life for yourself, finding love, and overall cuteness with a bookstore and a cafe. And lastly, we've got The Lost Bookshop. This is cozy but also has some darker themes in it, and it's definitely a bit deeper and more intense than the other books that I just mentioned, but this is all about a lost bookshop and how far someone would want to go to find answers. The next category is magical realism, also one of my favorite genres because I think it's such a special type of genre because of the magicalness that takes place in the real world. The first one is Einstein's Dreams. This is a collection of short stories all about fictional things that Einstein may have thought whilst writing his theory of relativity, and every short chapter follows a different way that time could potentially tick. Next we've got the entire Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, a very, very cute and magical series about a small coffee shop in Japan, and people can go there to go back in time to maybe say something to someone that they wanted to say or do something that they really regret not doing in the past. Very heartwarming and emotional, and just definitely very magical. Then we've got a classic magical realism book here on BookTube, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenson. I am in desperate need of a reread of this one. This was one of my favorite books. I still hope it is one of my favorite books now if I reread it, but it is about a magical circus that appears in the night without any notice. The writing style, the whimsicalness, the magicalness. This one is the perfect autumn read, and I really have to reread this one. Next we've got Shark Heart, a love story. This one was painful, beautiful, so interesting. It is about a couple and about one of them who is turning into a great white shark. Even though their body is changing, their mind is not, and the feels very, very good. And lastly, we've got The Inheritance of Orchidia Divina, which is all about someone who's trying to discover family secrets. And lastly, we've got non-fiction. I think autumn is also a perfect time to read some more non-fiction, to learn about people, to learn about the world. Especially like interesting memoirs are my cup of tea during autumn. And my favorite memoir of all time is Just Kids by Patti Smith. Patti Smith is an amazing singer-songwriter, awesome human being, and this is all about her life growing up in New York City after moving from a very small town, and about her relationship with photographer Robert Mapplethorpe. It's gonna be sad. It is also super interesting and just the perfect autumnal vibes. Next we've got Conversations on Love, a very, very beautiful essay collection all about what it feels like to be loved when it comes to friendship, when it comes to lovers, when it comes to parents, when it comes to letting go. And this was also so freaking beautiful, heartwarming, emotional. You read these type of books and it just gives you this feeling of how it's so beautiful to be human and that we are all so connected in a way. And next we've got Ordinary Wonder Tales, and this is all about happenings in the world that are ordinary things that are happening but that are actually very, very unique, beautiful, and unexpected. It says this book is magical in every sense of the term, a beautiful ode to both the natural world and the supernatural one, and all of the ways in which our human hearts traverse the space between these shifting places. This was amazing and so unique. And on this list, last but definitely not least, is one that, okay, it is maybe more of a winter book, but I feel like when the days are already getting darker and autumn is getting here, you know, I feel like this book is still very, very appropriate to read during autumn. It is called Wintering, and it says the power of rest and retreat in difficult times. This is a very beautiful and inspiring book all about how we can best get through darker periods in our lives, whether this be literally because of the seasons that are changing, or whether it be like personal things that you may be dealing with. Super inspiring and beautiful, and just kind of like a warm hug in a book. Well, these are all of my autumn book recommendations. Let me know in the comments if you know more books that you think I might enjoy, or just give some extra recommendations in the comments to everyone who is watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you want to comment something but you don't know what to comment, make the comment section look super autumnal, because it's my favorite season. I am living, I am thriving, and I just want to see lots of brown and orange and cuteness in the comments. Thank you again so much for watching. I really hope that you are having a gorgeous day, and I will hopefully see you in my next video.